right, good morning. Welcome to Pain-Free Posture. We are going to move some joints around. Stabilize some things. Go ahead and start with your check-in and just close your eyes, feel your feet. Notice where the weight is between the right and left foot. As you take a full deep breath, notice where the breath moves. And let's start actually at our upper back today. Grab your block. And I want you just to stand there and then pull your block up over your head. Now, ideally, you have the three curves in your spine: cervical curve, thoracic curve, and lumbar curve. And as you bring your arms up over your head, there's very little change in your spine. So if you're extra round in your thoracic back, it may push on the thoracic back a little bit, but we pretty much want the shoulder blades to be able to wrap around the rib cage as the arm goes up with just a little bit of motion through your upper back. So take it up there, find that breath, and release it down. Now, if it hurts in your shoulder at all, stop at any range of motion that feels like it's on the edge of pain, even if it's here, and just move in whatever pain-free range you have. So this is a place where we have hinges sometimes, and if your mid-back is a hinge and you take your arms up and your rib cage just pops forward, then the muscles around the shoulder blades stay tight. So to keep the ribs in alignment, keep the front ribs down, and then pull the arms up, then we're kind of making the muscles that control the shoulder blade to work a little bit more correctly with the arm bone. Good. Go ahead. Put that away. Cross your arms in front of you and then take it into an upper back round position, just the upper back. So we did shoulder blades opening. Now tuck your chin, curl your head just a bit, and then roll one vertebra at a time back up. Do that a couple of times. Down, round, let your shoulder blades come forward and off your back. Find your abdominals, those are flexors, and then come up. Yeah. And then see if you can move your rib cage a little more with a little bit more of a circle. And you can go into that bit of extension, round, come up. And again, feel in your body, I'm gonna go the other way, how that movement is. We do a lot of stuff in here to get the shoulder blades to squeeze toward the spine, but not necessarily going into that shoulder blades moving away from the spine or upper back rounding, and that's an important movement to have access to as well. Okay, from there, take your left arm, we'll start with the left today just to be different. Take it up into a big circle. Keep everything else stable. Turn the hand like you're doing a backstroke and take it around. If you are in here and you can turn and watch yourself in the mirror, watch that the center line of your spine stays in alignment as you bring that arm up and forward and around. would be like cars in kid stretch, controlled, articulated ranges of motion. So with that control, we want to notice that we're actually accessing that control, just moving that one joint at a time, holding everything else stable. Second side, up, turn the hand back, watch the spine, watch that it wants to go sideways or back, and take it around just that shoulder, doing that action. Shoulder rolls up and back and around, and go ahead and allow the spine to move. So now body as a unit, more Egoscue idea, allow the thoracic back to talk to your low back as you let the shoulder blades move that whole space. And reverse, back, up and around. Just at the arm bone again, rotate your arms back, shoulder blades stabilize, take that into an external rotation, find your rotator cuff, 4 muscles in the back side of the shoulder that pull that arm bone around, and then bring it back in. Take it out, bring it back in. Good, see if you can go just past, straight out from your body even. Here, then hold your elbows stable. You can watch yourself in the mirror again so you can really see that your shoulders stay level, and then internal rotation, external rotation. Now we can do this with weight if the tissues are prepared to do these actions. You're seeing shoulder blade move around when the arm bone's still supposed to work. See how you could try to stabilize something there so that you can get just the arm bone to do that action. Even if it's lower, taking it into a smaller range more here, if that frees it up for you. Awesome. Okay, windmill. Arms out to the side, lateral flexion of the spine. Exhale over to one side. Press your ribs up to the sky. Really laterally flex down over here. And then come up over to the other side. Notice the difference between the two. All the way into the quadratus lumborum, this muscle back here that can elevate a hip. Same thing, arms out to the side. As we drop the legs, or as we move them, abduct the legs, then we use the tensor fascia lata, and that muscle is one of the muscles that can help elevate a hip as well as the quadratus lumborum. So it might look like your body is like this, and a leg is shorter, but really it's just fascia and muscles around that that are binding up that side. So as we drop the legs out and measure, does it get level? Then we can know if there's a true leg-leg discrepancy, or if we just have fascial binding or muscles that are overworking or maybe into your back, or maybe a combination of all three. Wider again, pretty far out there. And then hug into the midline so that you feel all the muscles around your whole leg turn on. Over and up. Okay, stay here with your legs out. Bend your knees. Reach toward the floor, flat back. And then come up onto your toes. Now feel the muscles all around the lower leg. Hug to the bone. Feel all the way into your glutes. Pull your hips back. And then see if you can take your arms off the floor. Hold that. Quads working, calves working, hips working, space in your back. And come all the way up. Nice. Bring your legs in. Finish your windmill. Arms out. One more time. Exhale over. Inhale up. Hopefully that feels easier than when you started. Okay, come down into your belly. Put your blocks out into a floor block. Start with your arms over your head, hands in the golfer's grip, fingers curled, palms open. Pigeon toe your feet. And if your shoulders can handle it, lift them up onto those blocks. Forearms on the blocks. Feel your front ribs gently tuck under so that we are honoring all three of those curves in our back. Lumbar curve, thoracic curve, curving your neck. You can set your chin down or your forehead down. I know it's kind of a nose smush. And then roll your upper arm bone outward. Just hold it out there. Take 3 deep breaths, full breaths. Fully in, expand the rib cage. And the full circumference of your mid-thoracic and thoracic back. And exhale completely. Let the space in the front of your ribs get more narrow. And then breathe out again. In and out. Now left arm, see if you can lift it up off of the block, just barely. Lift and lower. Ten times. And right arm. And then move it out to the corners of your mat into that Y shape. Roll your upper arms back. Hold it, breathe. Front ribs gently tucking under. 3 deep breaths, big breaths into the lungs. Expand the whole rib cage. Exhale completely. Squeeze your ribs. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. left arm lifting, 10 lifts. Right arm. And then straight out into T shape. Roll your upper arm bones back. Feel your mid-thoracic back open. Find those rotator cuff muscles again. You can even roll them forward and back a couple of times to really find those rotators in the shoulder. And left arm lifting, 10 lifts. Right arm. And release. Press up onto your hands and knees. Cats and dogs. Move your spine all the way up, all the way down. Okay, from your hands and knees position, now move your head around. So take one ear toward one shoulder, and then other way. Lateral flexion of your neck. A few times, and then head down. Let your chin tuck first, and then your head roll down. Then bring your ears back up over your in line with your shoulders and lengthen your chin forward, look up. Chin tucks all the way, head slide, head up, and down. Awesome, that's also a nerve floss. You think every time we pull the head in those positions, we're moving the nerves that go down into our arms and our torso and our legs. All right, let's do some toe work. Curl your toes under and just gently move back. Be gentle on the fascia of the bottom of the foot. Spread your toes as wide as you can. Just have access to some of that widening. And then curl your toes under. Keep the ankle lifted and just move back. Go back and forth between those two positions. Just find some mobility in your feet. And then come up, hold your leg up into a square, gentle rounding in your belly, or gentle rounding in your, arching in your back, rounding in your mid-thoracic back. Use your belly to stabilize that. And then from there, 20 circles with your ankle. Hold that leg up. Reverse. You have two bones in your lower leg, and the fibula is a floating bone, and the tibia is in there, and it's over all of those ankle bones. And they all need to align correctly so that the tibia and the knee line up correctly. Point and flex. Hold that leg up there. And release. Swing. way to the muscles underneath the calf that move the foot and ankle around, even into the arch of your foot. And release. Once again, round and arch your back, cats and dogs. Up to standing. I'm going to step off my mat just so I can slide a little bit easier. I'm going to just work on these muscles on the inside of the legs, the adductors. So we have to abduct the leg to get that to happen, but just slide your leg out, pull it in. So step off your mat so you can just slide your feet. And just feel as you pull that leg in, feel that adductor work. That adductor joins up into the pelvis. So if you have something going on with the pelvic ring, sometimes finding that adductor can change the shape of the pelvis a little bit. Bring better alignment in there. Okay, now slide it out. Take a little bit of a bend into that leg and then slide it together. As you do that, hold your spine stable. So if you had a measurement between your hip ribs and your hip bones, that stays stable so you have a hip hinge happening as you go over. Excellent. All right, come on back. Come down to kneeling. Find the back side of your body a little bit. So when we come to kneeling, we put a stretch on the muscles across the hip and the knee joint. Sometimes that's going to want to pull your hips forward into a bit of an anterior tilt. So I want you to still do your best to come to neutral. Press your hips a little forward. If it feels like you need to scoop your tailbone just slightly to find length in the front of those thighs, do it. And then hold a block between your ankles. Squeeze the big toe and the heel if you can get it against that block. Otherwise, just somewhere on the inside of your foot. And see if you can find muscles deep in your hips. If you need to move your knees slightly wider to give yourself an advantage to find those, do that. But find those deep hip muscles. Squeeze and release. Some deep six, glutes. If your knees point to the inside when you're standing, or if you have a little bowing of your leg, sometimes the front hip muscles are overly tight or short and the glutes don't activate quite as well. So being able to find the glutes and rotate the femur so that the femur sits more straight keeps better health in the knee, better health in the hips, helps to lengthen some of the tightness that might be in the front of the thigh. Squeeze, release. Okay, make sure your knee is plenty padded, and then hamstring curl one leg off the floor. See how high you can get it. Find that posterior chain. So hamstrings oppose the quads, Hamstrings are knee flexors and some hip extender. So if you're in hip flexion, that's also going to help find that. So pull that leg up there. Let's do 10 on one side. And then switch. And if you get a cramp, that would be common here. Again, first side. And second side. Good. Now, if your knees are okay with it, let's do some hero squats. So from here, open the shoulders, and then come down. Keep that little arch in your back. Press through your feet and come up. Hip hinge, down, feel everything rotate, and lift. One more. Awesome. Come down onto your belly again. This time put the block between your feet one more time. Fold your hands underneath your forehead. And let's go hamstring curls here. So let the floor hold your body a little bit more stable. Tuck your front ribs under so that you honor that little rounding in your mid-thoracic back. Curves at your low back. Gentle curve in your neck. You can even put your chin on your hands. Keep more neck curve and go opposite of that text neck. And then take it down and up. Let's do 20 curls. See if you can make it smooth. Now there's a little bit of a lumbopelvic rhythm that might happen, but we don't want your pelvis to move very much. Really relax through your shoulders. Push that block away. Now let's go into that pre-crawl position. So slide your knee away from you, and then you're going to rotate your leg down so your heel goes to the floor. Let the heel come down, and there should be only a little bit of rotation up around the pelvis. So if you feel like it's lifting way off the floor, stabilize with your belly a little more so that you drive the rotation into the hip itself. And we all have a little different hip socket. So ankle into the middle, then lift it up, slide the knee in, release it back down. Good. Bend it up, slide the knee away from you, then let the hip rotate as the leg comes down, up, slide it back in. Stay on this side 10 times. And then switch. Bend the leg, slide the knee wide, let the heel come down on the inside of that calf. Up, and slide it back in. Good. Stiffness at your belly, just a little bit to get the rotation into some of those tight hip muscles by perhaps. The more you stabilize your core, the more you ask those hip muscles to actually do that action. Deep six, glutes. Onto your hands and knees. Put that together. Move your hips now over the thigh bones. Let it move through your spine. Hopefully that feels more even. Maybe you have more control, better range. With hips just a little bit more. Have a seat when you're ready. Butterfly your legs. And then feel where your sit bones are. So you could be rolled back and have grounding in your low back, or you could come forward and kind of sit up to the top of your sit bones. And that's what I want, is to try to make an arch happen in your low back. And then from there, let your knees come up and create a little bit of resistance in your hips as they go down. Just gently move through those tissues. And then if you feel like you can adjust your pelvis a little bit more, do that. And just notice, like, are you sitting right on the front of both of your sit bones or on top of your sit bones? See where you can get on your butt, and is one more forward than the other, or do they feel pretty even? Good. One knee in, one leg out straight. Just sit really tall. And then try to lift that straight leg. So my hands are going to go down to help stabilize at my shoulders. Lift and lower that leg up and down. Quad, working, hip flexor, working. Sit up tall through your low back as best you can. Ask that hamstring to lengthen. And then switch sides. that leg. Awesome. Both legs out straight. Sit really tall, hands in that golfer's grip again. Thumbs pointing down to your shoulders. Feel your sit bones. See if you can roll right to the front of them. Keeping that arch, keeping your thighs tight, pulling your toes back. Kinetic chain from the ankle into the knee, into the hip, and then elbows all the way together so they touch. Full breath. Gentle rounding in your mid-back. Open it back up. Into it. Get tall, arm circles, arms out to the side, same grip, fingers pulled in, 20 circles forward. Squeeze your shoulder blades, this time pinch them all the way together, all the way down at the bottom edge of the shoulder blade. Backwards. How even can you get that squeeze? How even does it feel all the way through your sit bones and your legs? And release. Awesome. Onto your back, let's do a few twists. So just come down for a moment and feel gravity. Just let your back settle to the floor. Feel where your shoulders can be on your back, your mid-back can push into the floor, and then free up your low back so that there's space between your lower back and the floor. Curve at your neck, and then palms down. Push your arms down into the floor enough that you feel your triceps. See if you can activate all the way into that back of the arm back here. And then cross the right ankle over the left knee. Let the whole thing go down to the left side. Look to the right. And press your knee away from you, opening that hip. Switch. Left ankle over the right knee, all the way down to the right side. Look to your left. Press that left knee away from you. Let the leg bone rotate in the socket, then that's going to add some extension into the pelvis and the low back. Working all the way up into your middle back. Feel your breath move in and out through your ribs. And come on up. stretch both legs out straight on the floor. And then put your left toes up on your right toes. Twist your hips over to the right, look to the left. Left foot on top. Hips over this way. Arms straight out from your shoulders. Try to get your hips to roll all the way up and over so that they're moving towards straight up and down while your shoulders are on the floor still. Tighten your thighs, tighten your butt. Untwist. Switch sides. Right heel on top of your left toes, and then up and over to the left. Tighten your thighs, tighten your glutes. Get your hips to start to move all the way over, separating from your shoulders. Untwist. Pelvic tilts, both feet on the floor. Rock your hips backward and forward. And then roll to your side and press up onto your knees. Grab both your blocks again. So we're going to use the thigh muscles a little bit more, moving back towards what would be like a camel pose in yoga. So coming back, and you can decide what's okay for you. So moving your hands back a little bit. This might be just where you're at, coming down and up right here, so that you're just pressing into the length of those thighs a little bit. You could come back and then press through your thighs to come back up, so that you're using a lot more of those muscles. Back, push. Asking them to lengthen and work at the same time. Awesome. I'm into a kneeling groin when you're ready. Just open that up. Your knee can go over your toe, your heel can come off the ground on that front foot. You can stay here in this stretch if that feels like enough, or you could add a little lunge to that, tucking your back toes under, lifting it up and down, adding a little more strength. And then switch. Take it forward. Let that knee come over your toe, the heel can lift up off the floor. And then again, stay in the stretch if that feels like enough, or add the press. dog pose, taking it up and back. Letting one heel release and then the other. To your hands, or hands to your feet, come up to your blocks. So I want you to play with 3 different moves that can be a hip hinge. So you can be completely stable in your torso, really, and bend over to the blocks and then stand up, and that's a hip hinge. Legs straight all the way down. Low back stays totally straight. That's one way. We're getting hamstring length in that hip hinge. And then I want you to take it where your back just gets to round a little bit. You could bend your knees. And you can come up. So that low back can lengthen. And then keep your knees bent, put that flat back again. So now feel where it's just right in your glutes really that motion happens. And it can come up and down, don't go up very high, but just feel that can shorten and lengthen. So all 3 areas of the back can be part of that hip hinge, and it's healthy to be able to move them all when we want to, and to stabilize them separately when we don't want them to move. Awesome. Come all the way to standing. Come up onto your toes 10 times. Do 10 hip flexor lifts right here as the last thing today. So stabilize everything, just pull that leg straight up and down. And switch. Come to lying down or seated for your meditation. It's chilly today. All right, so I feel like this is Human Being 101. You are human and a being. And the human part of yourself has lots of conditioning or programming to keep you safe that has evolved over time, but it's kind of like the reptilian part of our brain, which means that there's a lot of places in us, reactions or aspects of ourself that is just running programs to keep you safe. But that can show up as triggers, that can show up as reaction, that can show up as not feeling good enough, not doing enough, not being enough. And once we recognize that those programs are there to keep us safe, we can just notice them. And the first thing is to just notice them and accept them. And then we can shift into the other part of ourselves, into the more being part. So as you close your eyes and feel your breath, and notice what's here today, I want you to just do exactly that. Notice if you have any programs running. And when we start to just accept the programs and shift out of it, the mind will quiet. Being in these few moments of silence is simply to recognize what's here right now. Time we spend in this space, the more congruence we can make between what's actually happening right here in the present moment. Our mind and our heart and our physical body, our emotional body, and our beingness can all come into a congruence. There's a calm, peaceful, joyful place. That's the place we cultivate with meditation. And we get to use our power to choose to shift into whatever vibration we want to be in. Hopefully that's in these higher vibrations of forgiveness and gratitude and compassion and empathy, love, to notice when we have judgment, anger, shame, blame running. Coolest part about having community is that we get to support each other to move into these higher vibrations, however that can happen, through movement of our physical body, through addressing the traumas that might be making the conditioning happen. Sometimes we got to get in there and do the work. Take one more deep breath. As you breathe in, just imagine that your whole body is surrounded in light. That all the cells of your body, down to the individual atoms, are communicating with each other in just the right way so that